So did you connect with them?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
good, awesome.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
That's good.
This is just a shot in the dark otherwise.
That's fine. So. Hi. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Are you comfortable with some information?
Yeah. Okay. So, cool. Yeah, we're going to follow the search later too. So.
Yeah. You got it. Did you finish it?
Sign it.
Have you read the whole thing?
Yes. Can I read it?
3 times?
In my time, yeah.
Hey, I'm almost through my book, people.
Which one?
Good for you.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. It's an awesome one. You should read it. You want to read it after I'm done?
Okay. Do you have all the tips and tricks highlighted?
I don't, but you know what? You can kind of follow through, and it gives you just a little like summary.
Oh, yeah. That's
And
great.
look at
I was hoping to introduce you to Michael Buffoni from Solution Tree, but he was out the door about 5 minutes before you came in. He was here today. It's like that. Yeah, this was really a good day. Really good day.
yeah. So yeah. So this is. So nothing wrong with
I
it.
have to listen to it tonight. Sometimes.
The resolution.
Yeah, sometimes you can slide in later.
Go back to that.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just read that. It's just like that. It's a roll call.
Are we ready? I'll call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. Roll call.
Robert Cullen.
Here.
Nathaniel Melton.
Present.
Kate McKinnon.
Here.
Deb Olson.
Here.
Aaron Hirsch.
Here.
Margaret Schurz.
Here.
Paul Johnson.
Here.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda the way it is written.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Move on to the consent agenda, which contains the Board of Education minutes from the meetings in January, as well as our Committee of the Whole in February, and the approval of vouchers. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll be moving on to the informational session. We'll start with board reports. We held our Committee of the Whole on February 3rd. We had a presentation on the referendum update by Dr. Aslan, and we'll be talking about that again this evening. We discussed the petition to detach individual property, and we heard from the individual requesting that petition that appears on our agenda this evening. We had a presentation from the Wellness Committee, and they reviewed the district's wellness policy. We had a presentation on STAR to FAST assessment transition, and that appears on our agenda tonight. We tabled the American College Testing, ACT plus writing testing schedule. We had a presentation on the achievement gap reduction by Mr. Hopke. Let's see. We also had staffing recommendations, and those appear on our agenda this evening. And to consider the Cameron School District into the Iceman Hockey Co-op for this next year, and that appears on our agenda this evening as well. We discussed a possible time change to the Committee of the Whole, and that will be talked about when the restructural meeting occurs in May for the board. We had a financial update by Ms. Grindal, and we reviewed the vouchers. Does anyone have anything else to add about the Committee of the Whole? Okay, thank you. We will move on to board reports on the WASB convention. Do I have a volunteer to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
I went down early for the first conference. The first conference was reaffirming the achievement gap, and it was equity and excellence in education. It's about a 3-hour program. Basically, what we were discussing was the equity that some students have and how it's not equal to other students. Basically, it was the Middleton School District that was speaking about trying to figure out what it takes for their students to be equitable, for their students to want to come to school, to give them a reason to come to school. And if we can develop a pattern to get the students to come to school, to get involved in sports or curriculum or extracurricular or something that they enjoy, the learning will become natural to them because they'll be working with students, helping them with that. It was a way to think about, instead of just looking at the test scores and demanding that you need to study harder, we need to find out why are they coming to school in the first place? Are they being forced? They need to want to come to school, and if they can come to school and come from a disadvantaged household, it'll be easier for them to learn if they can come to school and enjoy themselves. This might be all they have. Then as far as the delegate, I was a delegate for the district. During the meeting, the pre-delegate session, they explained what was going on. There's several topics that went through, but one of the main was the delegation. They were trying to pass a resolution to change the names of some offensive district names, and one of them was there was a proposal to make it where the state would pay the cost to change over. So if you had an offensive name, that the state would help you fund changing over to get rid of it. That seemed to be a hang-up where a lot of districts representatives from districts were saying, we went through this 30 years ago and we did what we were supposed to do back then. We paid for it all ourselves, and some of these are talking, $100,000 to change the name of their mascot. You're looking at the basketball court, you're looking at band uniforms, you're looking at every sport uniform they have, and a district could cost $100,000 to change the name. And it failed, basically saying that the district should be responsible for that themselves. Or they should have changed 30 years ago when this first came up. We had a couple of really great speakers that came in from outside the state, basically talking about different education models around the world and what we do in this country versus others. And it was interesting to hear how others are teaching and how they value their educators and focus more on education, 12-month year-round schooling even. They talked about that, where students are staying focused year-round schooling. But that's it for me.
Thank you, Paul.
I can go next. I also went down early on Wednesday. I want to thank the district for giving us the opportunity to be able to go to something like this. This is my first year, and I got to sit through a early session of opportunity of conflict, which was very interesting to me, that there was several different groups of us that have different personalities and how you deal with that conflict. And maybe you won't actually agree on things, but you respect each other. And so that was one of the main focuses. And surprisingly, there are a lot of districts that have a lot of people that don't agree. And when you put that many personalities together, you're going to get that. So that was very interesting. That was around a 3-hour session as well. And once we got the gist of how you go about the day picking and choosing the different, seminars and speeches and things that you can go to, we sat in on one about referendums, which was fabulous. And it's nice to know that we're actually doing and going forward with what we should be doing to, get that referendum passed. Also, we got to sit in on a very interesting informational session with the Barron School District and all of those things that happened last fall. So that was also very interesting. So each component of the 3 days we were there was fascinating, from, listening to the keynote speakers to being able to pick and choose, our sessions, and just seeing other districts and meeting other people. It was a fabulous opportunity. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, Deb. Marcia, did you want to share your?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Another one of our keynote speakers was Young Shao, I believe is the way his name is pronounced. He's the author of the book, What Works May Hurt, Side Effects in Education, and he expanded on some of his research and other research that he's brought together. So some interesting topics there. I went to a session where the Sun Prairie School District School Board talked about their process and data-driven decision-making, progress toward their goals, and the superintendent's evaluation is tied to that, to the district's progress toward the goals. Altoona School District was an interesting presentation with their special ed department and how they've made some changes that have really helped support their special ed students and also increase student achievement overall. So thanks for the opportunity to attend.
Thank you, Marcia. And I was the last of the 4 of us that went. And we had a document that we could complete. So on Board Docs, my full summary of the majority of the sessions that I went to is on there. But we had a keynote speaker, Dr. Scott McLeod, on Wednesday morning, and I followed his sessions through the day and got to sort of scaffold more of a deep understanding of what he was talking about. But the premise of his work in education is basically to study schools that foster deeper learning and engagement in student development and academics, and how schools do that. Higher level thinking, student agency, authentic work, and technology infusion to prepare future-ready graduates, not just students that are able to regurgitate facts and know standards without having any application and engagement and ownership in their learning and education. So it was very, very interesting. And I put on Board Docs, there's a link that he gives for a protocol to follow if staff are interested in sort of aligning to see how they can kind of expand outside of the box to engage students and give them more ownership in their learning. And I think that the interesting piece to me was when we have our standards and our benchmarks and our curriculum in place, that gives freedom in instruction to expand in how we engage students, because you have a framework for which to work in and assess on. And the exciting work that's going on right now in our district, I am hopeful that we have that framework set to be able to offer a lot more opportunities for student engagement and agency in the way that they learn. And that kind of ties into Paul, that when students do that, it's proven that they're more successful in their student learning and achievement. So that was really great information. And I think all of the other sessions that were spoken about, I attended with Deb or Marcia or Paul. So it was a great opportunity, and thank you so much for giving us that option. And there's so many sessions and so much information, I think that's valuable. Even there were districts talking about sending teachers potentially and different staff members, administration, to be able to have that opportunity for professional development and growth. So that would be something that would be awesome if we could look to expand that. Did you want to speak to anything, Dr. Harrison?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to take part in the WSB convention. It's the first time that I've attended in my 3 years here in Spooner. Very affirming to hear other districts that have been identified as applying best practices in things like the use of social media or the use of student data to drive instruction or preparing for referenda, and hear that, boy, those are practices that we on a day-to-day basis continue to work to include in our framework here in Spooner. So certainly affirming to have that professional learning and know that we're on the right track with our efforts.
Thank you. We'll move on then to administrative reports. Again, the board memo is in board docs, available for anyone to look at. Did you want to speak to anything on that, or any other administrators? No? Okay. Very valuable information in there. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, we'll place on file. And we'll be moving on to community comments.
There's one.
Thank you. All right, per Wisconsin Statute 19.83, Parent 2, and 19.84, Parent 2, the board will allow public comments. The community comment session will be limited to 45 minutes. The time for each individual will be divided. There's one person, so we won't be dividing it. The community comment section of the meeting agenda provides members of the community with the chance to speak directly to the school board. It is a valuable opportunity for community members to have questions, concerns, requests, and ideas heard directly by the school board and administration. Participants are asked to step up to the microphone so that everyone is able to hear when you speak, and providing your contact information on the community concern sign-up sheet helps the district follow up with you on your items. So Sherry Wiegland, if you would come to the microphone.
It's Sherry Weekend.
Weekend, sorry.
And I'd like to talk about the part of the referendum that includes asking for building 4 new classrooms for 4K. And disclosure, I'm on the Indian Head Community Action Agency Board of Directors. And just for background, I've also lived in this community and worked in Burnett, Polk, and Washburn counties as a psychiatric social worker for 30 years. I'm now retired. So sometimes I think about things too much. And my concern about the Spooner 4K program, which currently partners with Indian Head Community Action Agency, and the community partnership has apparently been working very well. And I watched your board video about the 4K program, and after watching that, it seemed like the most troubling part of the way it works now is that the staff sometimes have to go back and forth between buildings, and the children have to take buses from one place to the other, but it's, like half a mile away. It's not that far. And it seems to me to, spend millions of dollars on building 4 new classrooms to accommodate that kind of inconvenience doesn't make much sense for the taxpayers here when our community already provides these services here for our children. Why not do something different with that money? Build a greenhouse, do some more tech classes to help kids get jobs when they get out of school, or provide more mental health services to prevent suicides in our communities. But if you look through this sheet, does anybody else? The school district here already gets many benefits from partnering with Indian Head Community Action Agency Head Start, and ICAA does all the bureaucratic stuff to acquire, maintain, and monitor those funds and all the bureaucratic mumbo jumbo that goes along with managing 4K and early and regular Head Start. So the kids here who are participating in it already receive 4 full days of educational programming. The class sizes are limited to 20 kids. The school district receives the funding for these children enrolled in Head Start through DPI as well. Parents are offered all kinds of services when they're in these programs, and families get lots of services through those programs as well. Indian Head Community Action Agency pays all the operational and building costs, so that's zero cost to the school district. All utilities, water, sewer, phone, internet, electric, gas, garbage is paid by Indian Head. Daily and annual maintenance of the building, including lawn care and snow removal, is not charged to the school district. The ICAA staff clean and take care of the building and the classrooms, and we furnish all the copier supplies and paper. ICAA prepares nutritious meals which are cooked on site, and the district is responsible for the meals of the 4-year-old kids who are not enrolled in Head Start. All students duly enrolled in Head Start receive free breakfast, lunch, and snack. So ICAA furnishes the classrooms and the outdoor play space at zero cost to the district. Developmentally appropriate furniture, toys, and learning games are there. Playground space is there. Classroom supplies are there. Additional teacher support, such as coaching and professional development opportunities, are provided to district teachers as well who are in that program. Now, of course, there are benefits to Indian Head Community Action Agency also in maintaining these programs. The district provides 2 additional teachers and an additional classroom support to students in the 4K Head Start programs. By providing teachers in our program, Indian Head Community Action Agency receives some non-federal match. So match is not dollars. The district buses the 4-year-old kids to Head Start, which reduces transportation costs for Head Start and allows us to use those funds for other educational support for the kids. And then both the school district and Head Start benefit. The 4K Head Start classrooms are staffed with 3 professionals, 1 district teacher, 1 ICAA teacher, and 1 ICAA teacher assistant. This is a significant benefit to children in our community, and there's 3 trained professionals working with them. This increases their school readiness outcomes. And the kids also receive a seamless full-day comprehensive service for all the program components of Head Start and 4K. So I'm a little confused, and maybe some of you could answer the question of why we would want to do harm to a community partner that is already doing these programs, that provides services already in this realm, when we would have to charge our taxpayers all this money to build new classrooms and then hire more staff for our district. If there's an answer to that, I would love to hear it. And I would rather see the school district provide services in the referendum that aren't already going on in our community that cost the district no money. Any questions?
No questions here.
Well, it's not a question, it's a comment. Aaron, can you ask the administration to answer specifically more the technical question that she had at a later date, of course?
Yeah, I will be glad to respond to the questions that she has raised.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I didn't put my info on there.
Would you mind doing that, Sherry? There's a place for email, and then if you want to leave your phone number afterward, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be moving on to discussion and action. Item A is to consider personnel recommendations.
You have two resignations that come forward this evening by way of retirement, and two just outstanding high school faculty members that have served the children and families and the district and the community very well. Terry Johnson, high school English teacher, retiring with 31 years of service, and Dave Parrish, high school special education teacher, retiring with 30 years of service.
We'll first take a motion to accept these resignations.
I'll make that motion to accept these resignations.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'd like to have a round of applause and thank you so much for your service over these years.
Three hiring recommendations before you this evening. Jason Cole, assistant high school track coach, replacing Lucas Phelps, recommended by Mr. Lucius. Aaron Carls, full-time evening custodian, replacing Tim Scalzo, recommended by Mrs. Grindell. Tony Kraus, part-time evening custodian, replacing Matt Graham, recommended by Mrs. Grindell.
I'll entertain a motion to approve these hirings.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to item B, the acceptance of donations.
A number of just wonderful donations before you this evening for consideration. Donation from Wild Rivers Composite Squadron of the Civil Air Patrol to the Spooner Middle School STEM program, a new flight simulator. From Exxon Mobil, the Trigo Station, Spooner Elementary School improvements in math and science, $500. From the Spooner PTA to the Art Club, $200 in appreciation for the Art Club's work at the PTA Craft Fair. From Indian Head Credit Union, a puzzle, piggy bank, and book valued at approximately $20. Schmitz's Economart, candy for the guiding jar, approximately $50. Quarters Arcade, guessing jar with bouncy balls, approximate value of $10. Tim Reddy State Farm to the Family Math Day, two guessing jars valued at approximately $10. Spooner Outlet, 12 fidget spinners, approximately $25 value. Northwind Book and Fiber, 12 mini beach balls with a value of approximately $15. The Potter Shed, two guessing jars valued at $20. Spooner PTA Military Appreciation T-shirts valued at $100. Tim Fry Financial, UW Extension, Darren Vick of the Spooner Fire Department, the Johnson Bank, Indian Head Credit Union, State Farm, Lumber Shacks, the Spooner Area School District Community Ed to the Family Math Night. Generous donations, a time for that event. Quarters Arcade, Spooner Elementary School, Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports prizes, $25 gift certificates and 20 free mini golf family passes valued at $40. From the Shell Lake Co-op Livestock Shipping Association to the Spooner Future Farmers of America, $200 to help offset the cost of attending the National FFA Convention.
I make a motion that we accept these wonderful donations. Once again, very proud of our community. We have a very generous community who believe in our kids, and cannot express my appreciation and thanks. I know along with the rest of the board, it's just amazing to see this month after month from our awesome community. Love to be here. I love this community. So I just want to say thank you for all those and make a motion that we accept them.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're moving on to item C, the referendum update.
2 community referendum information sessions have been scheduled. Tuesday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. at the Spooner Middle School Media Center. Monday, March 9th, 6 p.m. at the Spooner Elementary School Media Center.
Thank you. And I assume lots of social media and paper posts will be going
I've had
out?
people asking, I'm glad to see these scheduled. Can we
Yeah.
throw something in the newspaper?
Is that the plan?
It'll be publicized. Yeah, that's
By a lot.
publicized.
All right. Thank you for the update. Moving on to item D, to consider the petition to detach individual property. I am going to go ahead and read the resolution that has been recommended for us. And then we'll take a roll call vote.
Do we need to read that
Yep.
We do? Okay.
Yeah. Resolution of authorizing issuance of an order. Whereas a meeting of the School Board of the Spooner Area School District was held on February 17th, 2020, and whereas a petition has been filed with the clerk of the school board pursuant to statute 117.11 through 13, Wisconsin statutes, proposing the property of N 4210 U.S. Highway 63, Shell Lake, Wisconsin, be detached from the Spooner Area School District and attached to the Shell Lake School District. And whereas a public hearing has been held on the proposed reorganization by the school board pursuant to statute 117.11 through 113, Wisconsin statute, now therefore be it resolved that an order to be issued and filed denying the petition upon which said hearing has been held. I'll make the motion that we accept this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Obviously, this is a recommendation of the administration.
Yes. And we had a presentation on this at the Committee of the Whole outlining the reasons for the denial. We'll have a roll call vote then.
Robert Bowen,
Yes.
Nathaniel Melton,
Yes.
Kate McKinney,
Yes.
Deb Olson,
Yes.
Aaron Birch,
Yes.
Marcia Schurz,
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
We'll be moving on to item E, to consider adopting to start to Frostbridge assessment transition. I'll entertain a motion to approve that transition.
I'll make the motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to adopt this.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to item F, to consider the 2020-21 staffing recommendations. So this was presented to us at the Committee of the Whole, and we've been given an updated recommendation list. Did you want to speak to that at all, Shannon?
Unless there's specific questions, or do you want to make the motion and
Let's
then?
make a motion and then we'll go from there. So I'll make the motion that we accept these recommended, or approve these recommended staffing additions proposed for the 2020-2021 school year. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion or questions?
Can someone explain what these are again for the viewing public?
Do you want me to go through them again, line by line, or how do you want to do this?
Well, if you could just summarize essentially what we're doing here. We talked about it last month. However, many people aren't tuned in to every meeting, and we are here to serve. So if you could just summarize it, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
The first position is a district behavioral specialist. It's a district-wide position to assist with top-tier behavioral needs, as well as analyze and present data to staff. The district office secretary, that's a half-time position. In 2016-17, the district office had a staff member leave and has not replaced that position. A half-time or a 0.5 FTE guidance secretary. Administration is looking to add a 0.5 FTE to backfill the transition of the special education secretary to 1.0 FTE. The special education secretary, transitioning that position to 1.0, the same person. And there was a new, Deb had asked me to cost out, layering in that half-time guidance secretary and what the costing would be at a 1.0. And so that information is put in there as well, as a full-time position.
Is this time we can discuss this then?
Yes, yep, it's open for discussion.
So my question is, when I went through this, and this is just, I'm just throwing this out here, with the 0.5 that you've done for both of those positions without benefits eligible, and if you basically, even if you go to the high end and then you add in the middle ground of having eligible benefits for a full-time position, which helps your candidate pool, it would be approximately $5,000 to $6,000 more a year to do that. And some of that, is this the part of the position that's going to be paid through some of those flow-through dollars, or is this extra and over and above? But you don't know at this point if they're actually going to take those benefits or not, correct?
Yep. So the minimum amount that it would cost for a full-time member to not take benefits would be $5,500, because we do a cash in lieu of. And the most could be upwards of $20,000 if it's a family plan.
I am concerned about the district behavioral specialist position. This is something that's new for Spooner. It's something that no other district in this area has, and I believe that the timing is just not right to create a new position of that sort. It's maybe something we could talk about in the future, but I understand we're trying to package these together and send them through as a group. But I believe that that district behavioral specialist is a position that maybe could be put on the back burner and brought up at another time. I just don't think the timing is right for that one right now. And I would follow up by saying, who is currently doing that role, filling that role?
Do you want to speak to that, Dr. Haslund? This would be a new position, so we currently don't have anyone fulfilling this role.
So, thanks for your insights and for your question. So for 2 school years now, we've had schools developing school improvement plans based on our district strategic priorities and compiling that data to inform instruction and inform initiatives. And if you'll think back on some of those presentations in the past couple of years, we had high rates of student behavior referrals. And to get at your question as to who's doing it now, a lot of people in each building are working towards that, and this would be some additional support for that, as the data has indicated that supports are needed. It's significant. I think I'd contrast that with one building who's got some results from first semester where they've applied some practices, and you'll see this data presented to you at some point in the future that has really had a marked impact with reducing discipline referrals. So if we can take those best practices and make sure that we're supporting district-wide with those types of services, then I think we're going to see those numbers come down. And I think we've all seen that definitely something needs to be done in that area. This position has been a topic of conversation in this district as long as I've worked here. And this is the first time as we start to cycle up for the 2020-2021 budget that we can financially consider this. So that's how we get to the point where the administration is recommending this position at this time.
follow up on Paul's question, and he said the timing issue. So I guess my question to Shannon is, what's the financial implication overall to the budget by adding this particular position? I know that you talked about it last month, but can you just encapsulate that quickly?
Yep, so if approved, we've held the money essentially for this position in the 2021. We've held the money for all of these positions in the 2021 budget, so it is there. If it's not approved, then it would have to be reallocated to something else.
And what's our projected deficit well, I know we're working on this year. We're not even at the end of this year, but is it going to have any material effect on our cost overruns, on our possible deficit for next year?
Right now, 2021 is balanced, so no. We would have to reallocate the money to something else.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would be putting it into fund balance, I guess,
Okay.
if we chose not to reallocate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
So when I ran for school board for the first time, I remember you have to write sort of this, what do you hope to accomplish and see as a need in Spooner and for the students here? And something that I saw as a need, and I think that we see that district-wide, we see that on a national level in students, is mental health and wellness. And there isn't a silver bullet for that. There isn't a one thing that's going to fix all of our behavioral and concerns for mental health and the well-being of our students. But this is a step in a direction district-wide that is a step in the right direction the way that I see it. Is it going to solve all of our problems? No. Is it going to make our behavioral needs for students go away? No. But is it an overarching umbrella to look at how we handle behaviors and student need, mental health and wellness as a district in conjunction with our community and other resources that we can use to bring more resources and support to students? Yes. That's how I see this working. And so I don't think that this is the answer that is going to end all of our problems and the needs that we have in our district, but it is a huge step in a direction that we've known we need to take, that students in our country, in our district, in our schools need today, yesterday, 3 years ago. And so I've heard a lot of comments and concerns about this position personally as a board member. And I've grappled with that, and I have researched, and I have tried to find where I sit on this issue. That's my role and my job as a board member, and I believe that this is a step in a direction that will best support students in our district and something that we can financially afford, maintain, and I think that it's a good step.
I agree with Aaron. The statistics with the issues that we face, and probably statewide, are just, they're growing and they're concerning and they're time consuming for a lot of our staff trying to teach education. And if I go visit a building, which I'm prone to do once in a while, and I see different administration handling issues, which that's part of their job, but it takes away from a lot of other things. So for me, having experience working with kids with behavioral needs, seeing some of those behavioral needs, hearing about some of those behavioral needs in our district, to me this is thinking outside the box a little bit. This is trying to be forward thinking, and I think we need to be. And I have, if approved, I have high expectations of how this will look in the next couple of years, trying to be ahead of the game, which is tough when you're working with kids that have a vast range of needs in this area. And it's hard to know all the tools, but I think this is a great step in that direction of help getting things so that we can streamline things and get kids where they need to be for the needs that some of them have. And some of them have some big needs. And the earlier and the sooner that we're able to get that, the better it is for those kids long term. And so for me, that's why I approved this. My biggest concern was, do we have the finances and can we continue to finance it? That's been answered, so that's why I support this. I support this for just the long term, try to get ahead of the game and see kids' needs met earlier, sooner, and help for a much safer and healthier environment for all our kids and staff.
Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll have a roll call vote on this.
Robert Holman.
Yes.
Nathaniel Milton.
Yes.
Kate McKinney.
Yes.
Deb Olson.
Yes.
Erin Birch.
Yes.
Marcia Schurz.
Marcia?
Marcia, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Yep, taking a roll call vote here.
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
No.
Thank you, motion passes. We'll be moving on to item G, to consider the second reading of the Neola Policy 7550.
No change.
No change. Were there any concerns or questions? Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the second reading of this policy.
I'll second that.
Any questions or concerns?
So that people can understand that haven't looked at the Google documents, can you just quickly summarize what this relates to?
It relates to the joint use of facilities and interlibrary loans. And the statement would be that the board advocates the joint expenditure of district funds and municipal and county funds to provide for these facilities, which the entire community, children and adults alike, may derive benefits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving this
Aye.
policy?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to item H, to consider the Cameron School District into the Iceman Hockey Cooperative for 2020-2021. I'll make a motion that we accept, or that we approve this inclusion of Cameron School District into the Iceman Hockey Cooperative for 2020-2021.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
Yes, was this recommendation by Matt, our athletic director, was this his recommendation that we approve this?
Yes, he forwarded the recommendation for your consideration, and all of the member districts in the Iceman Co-op are considering the same recommendation this month.
Okay, thank you.
And, excuse me, Dr. Eisen, can you tell us, it's just one student, correct, which still keeps us in the numbers of what we had? Okay.
That's correct. Cameron is projecting one hockey player joining, if approved, for 2020-2021.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We'll be convening into closed session to consider the administrator evaluation, so I will need a roll call, or motion, I guess, to convene into closed session.
I'll make that motion to convene.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Robert Holman.
Yes.
Nathaniel Milton.
Yes.
Kate McKinney.
Yes.
Deb Olson.
Yes.
Erin Birch.
Yes.
Marcia Schurz.
Yes.
Paul Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have.
Maybe. I thought, oh no, this can't hold me that much.
I think that, I don't know who would be the leader at this point. No other district.
It's been thin.
I'm going to send you an email. I'm just asking if you wanted to respond to a question.